All the discussions you create in your course are located in the discussion section of the course. If we click on that, we can see the interface. Up at the very top, there's a search box that you can look for specific authors or contents of messages if you know what you're looking for specifically. There's a button to create a new discussion here in the upper right. We're going to go over that in the communication module of this course. And then there's some options here on the far right. Whenever you see a gear, of course, that means that there are options. We'll look at those options really quick before we get into the rest of this. You can click on that gear, and here are the discussion settings. Um, the first setting is to manually mark posts as read. If you check mark this, then you'll have to go through every time a student posts or responds to a discussion topic. You'll have to go in and manually mark it as read. Otherwise, Canvas will assume that you haven't read it yet. So if you want to make sure you never miss a single post, it might be a good idea to put a check mark in this box. For student settings, these are settings that affect your students. The first one here is students can create discussion topics. I would always double check on that, regardless of your course. Some courses may have that marked, others may not. So come in here and double check this. Create discussion posts. This is a pretty big deal. If this is marked, a student also has this green add discussion button at the top that they can add their own discussion. That might end up being kind of an organizational nightmare for you if you're using this discussion interface in your course. Other options, edit and delete their own posts. If this is marked, students have access to an edit button on each post that they make that they can go in and they can change the things that they said or even delete their post altogether. This is something to be aware of. In the past, there have been situations where students have been abusive on a discussion board, and as long as this is set, the student could then go back in later and remove that, and then there would be no record of that particular abusive behavior. So it's kind of a catch-22. It can be nice for students to be able to change something they said if they realize it didn't come out the right way. At the same time, to check mark that is also to give students the ability to remove things that you might want to be able to have evidence for later down the road. Anyways, so beyond that, and then this other one here is a pretty big one that comes up from time to time, and that is students have the ability to attach files to discussions. If you expect students to be able to attach a PDF or a Word doc or something to their discussion post, this has to be checkmarked. I get calls almost every term that says, "Hey, how do I get students to attach files to discussions?" It's right here. So this is how you do it. So there are three sections here in the discussions interface. There's pinned, discussions, and closed. Uh, Everything you create by default will show up in the discussions area, in the main discussions area. You'll notice over here on the right where it says ordered by recent activity. This means that this is a popularity contest, so to speak. So whichever discussion board post is the most popular is going to be at the top. It was the last one that had any activity on it. So there's no real way to organize your discussions in this particular section here. If you do want to use this discussions interface, which isn't necessary, we have another way that I'll show you later on through this course on how to better organize your discussions possibly. But if you do want to use this interface and you do want to have a very specific order of your conversations and have them in a specific order, you want to drag them up to pinned discussions. And in pinned discussions, they're no longer ordered by recent activity. They're ordered however you order them. So I can drag this one underneath, or I can drag this one underneath and they'll stay there. Finally, there's also a closed for comments area at the very bottom. And if you drag and drop your discussion down into that section, what that is going to do is it's going to turn it into a read-only discussion. So students can still access it, they can still see what's happening with it, or what people commented on before, but they can no longer interact and they can no longer respond to the prompt or to one another. You'll notice a few differences here between these two specific discussions. They're both, you can see as I've named them, to appear in the week 1 module. They show the last time there was activity on them. So since this is ordered by recent activity, the one that was most recent is going to be at the top. You notice one is green and one is gray. We haven't spoken about this particular aspect of Canvas yet in this course, so I'll just talk about it right now. The difference between green and gray is its published status. So anything that's green in a course, whether you're looking at the assignments area or the discussions area or the quizzes area, anything that's green is visible to students as long as your course is published. Anything that is gray is considered to be unpublished, and even if your course is published, an unpublished item will still not be visible to students. So the way that that is controlled is over here on the far right hand side. You see the little green cloud. This is the published status. It's a publish button also. So I can toggle the publish status of this item just by clicking on the gray cloud. I've just clicked on it to publish it. Now it is green as well. A few other differentiations here. You can see the main thing is this little A plus just to the left of the week 1 introductions post. This means this is a graded assignment. This one up here, which does not have the A plus, is just a standard discussion that has no grade. As such, that also explains why there's a due date attached to the graded discussion. There are speech bubbles here as well, and if this is speech bubble is checked in green, that means that it will be included in your Canvas notifications to let you know that there has been participation on this discussion board. That you may have turned off. Most instructors probably will turn off that feature because otherwise they get inundated with hundreds of emails throughout the course of a term saying, hey, this person just posted on your discussion board. If you do like to receive those notifications, but you don't want to receive any more notifications that someone has just posted to the week 1 introductions, you can just click on that green checkmark box and it'll no longer be included in your notification reports on discussion activity. Also over here on the far right hand side you see 2 numbers, one in dark blue, one in light gray, and that means this is the number of unread replies to this post that you have not yet seen or read, and then this is the number of total replies that you have either read or not read. Lastly, there's a gear to the far right. If I click on that, I can delete it, I can pin it, or I can share it to Commons. Pinning this discussion would be the same as dragging it up to the pin discussions and dropping it at the top. You'll notice that I try to drag and drop this week 1 introductions in the closed for comments, and I cannot do that. The reason why I cannot do that is because it is due on the 20th, and the due date has not come and gone yet, so there's no way to close this down for comments yet.